Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated.
Chris and Kyle and have a podcast. Chris and Kyle, they have a podcast.
Chris and Kyle, we have a podcast. Podcast time. Record
Go away,
now.
Cho.
Yeah, go away, Cho. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. So, yeah, we're back. We're a little late.
Just
We're
a day.
back.
We're just going to be a day
Today's-
late.
We're a day late. We're a day late because we had some scheduling issues. We had some internet issues.
All kinds of the things.
All kind of the things. So basically, what happens every week lately?
It happens, huh?
It happens. So, welcome to Every Man's Guide to Nerddom, where we are two 30 to 40-something-year-olds who talk about pretty much whatever we want. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kyle. And if you guys would like to join in on the discussions that we have outside of here, there's a link in the show notes down below for our Discord server. Join the Discord. Discord's a free application that you can have on your telephone, your computer, your tablet, whatever device you have that accesses the internet. And we have lots of conversations going on in there. I actually got it pulled up right now because I'm behind on conversations. We got categories for music, movies, TV, memes, beer, holiday, movies, again, movie spoilers. There we go.
Spoilers.
Star Wars. We got Legos, and we got
Mukbang, show us your nudes.
yeah, not nudes. What'd you say?
Nudes.
Yeah, noodles.
Yeah, show us your noodles.
NOODS. We got for the Nintendo and the Xboxes and the retro gaming and Chris's odd love for noodles. So join that. It's free. Join the conversation. Talk with all the other people that are hanging out. The channel is, or the server is growing at all times. So all kinds of cool stuff going on there. Also, if you'd like to hang out with Chris and I live and in person, we both stream on Twitch. You can find Chris over there under Guyver Unit 01. It's GUYVERUNT01. Myself under KSIG, K_SIG. We attempt to play every Friday and Saturday night together. We play other nights on our own or sometimes also together. When we're lonely, we just play by ourselves. So
we play with ourselves a lot,
quite a bit. So check that out. You know, like, follow this, whatever platform you're watching on. If it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you're doing. And hop over to the Twitches and give us a little follow so you get the notification when we're going live.
Give us a little tickle.
Just give that bell a little tickle, a little ding ding. Yeah.
So
yep. Same shameless self-promotion out of the way because this is our show, and by God, we can do that.
100%.
100%. What are we talking about today, Chris? Oh, God, I scared him.
Battletoads?
Oh, hold on. I can change back to that. Well, that would be like a 10-minute episode.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We could probably go longer.
Well, we could probably at least get
properly motivated. We could go longer.
Yes. You give us a little tickle, a little follow.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go longer.
Yeah, tell us what you want to see.
Yeah.
And we'll just whip it out there for you. Yeah.
Well, just all out there.
Some episodes will be shorter than those, but at least they're all average.
They're all average
episodes. We Googled it. And
we did. And it's a good size.
And 50% of our viewers and listeners leave semi-satisfied. So
50%, 20% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Turtles.
The Turtles. It's the Turtles, boss.
Probably my favorite cartoon / property growing up as a kid. Like, I don't know whose it was. Like, who didn't like the Ninja Turtles? I don't know. Probably some Nazis somewhere probably didn't like them. But we loved them. Like, if
we
you didn't
did love them.
They were huge. They were amazing. Like, such a big part of our childhood. And that's what we're going to dive into. A little bit of the history, some of our thoughts on it, some little facts and figures and things. I'm going to throw it out there early. The source for some of the stuff. We got some stuff from Mental Floss. We got some stuff from Wikipedia, IMDb, all the typical internet sources. But Mental Floss had a really great article on the history of the Turtles. Also some from their fandom and wikis and things. So, yeah, this is not like our original thoughts for the most part.
No.
But
no.
Yeah, because we can't do that. We're not that smart.
No. Well, what we do know about the Turtles is we love them growing up.
We did.
And that for mostly because of the 86 cartoon show.
Mhm. Yep.
and the movies. So
And
we'll go into those.
we'll talk about how that's the version I think most people are familiar with, or is the cartoon version, and how it's evolved into like all the merchandising and things. And that version is kind of what morphed into all the other animated versions and all the things that we see now. We're going to talk about the early beginnings that I didn't know about until I was a little bit older. And, you know, I grew up on the cartoons. I don't know why I emphasized it that way, but the cartoons.
The cartoons.
The cartoons. I think that's how most of us were introduced to it, people around our age. You know, our elder millennials like myself, or the Gen Xers like Chris over there. You
Boy,
old bastard.
someone's in a good mood.
That's what you get. Well, you're across the threshold. I'm an elder millennial, and you're like a youngster Gen Xer. You're like,
Yeah, which is true.
We're in there, in that area. Era.
Era.
But yeah, Turtles. So, just they've been through. Start off as a comic, went through 5 different publishers, or have been published by 5 different publishers over the course of history since they started in 1983. 7 movies, 5 TV series. The number of video games that they are involved in varies depending on the source you look at. So I found 23, I found 47, and depending on like remakes and reboots and reissues and all that stuff. So we're going to go with 47 because it sounds a lot cooler. But God, I loved the Ninja Turtles growing up. Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael. Like it was playground fodder. Like that was the thing when you were a kid in the late 80s, early 90s on the playground. You always fought over which Ninja Turtle are you? And you're like, I'm Raphael. Like, no, you're not. I'm Raphael. Like, nobody was Leonardo for some reason. And
even though he was the leader and he had twin katanas,
he did, but he was Leo.
He was. Leo.
We'll get into that later. That's a whole other thing.
So,
but very humble beginnings for the Turtles.
It was extremely humble beginnings, and I remember when I was younger. I tried to read the original Turtles comics.
Yeah.
I couldn't get through it.
Really? Why is that?
Because they were actually quite brutal.
No. Because Chris was illiterate until he was the age of 34.
Until the age of 34.
I never learned how to read.
And then I'm the most popular boy in school once I lost my teeth. And then, so they started out as black and white comics.
Mm-hmm.
And extremely brutal. And if you look at the original comics, they're pretty rough, comparatively speaking to what we know today, the refined versions.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was kind of hard. Like, I would like to try and go back and read through it, I think.
I would like to too, like just the idea of how these started. So not to give away too much, they are exactly almost as old as I am. The original idea kicked off in like November of 1983. So Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird were sitting around, I think it was a copy shop. And as a joke, they were drawing out, they were doodling and drawing and all this stuff. And
showing their doodles to each other.
Showing their doodles. And Eastman drew the first turtle. And they thought it was cool. Laird drew a more refined version, and then Eastman like kicked it up a notch and drew 4 turtles, and they all had their own like ninja style weapons. That's how they started.
And 2 buddies just sitting around cracking up, laughing at each other.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Who would have thought like that would be the kickoff? Now, of course, they were both, huge comic nerd guys because, we'll talk about the connection a little bit more here in a minute, but from November of 83, jumping forward to March of 84, that's when they published. That's a very short time frame when you really think about it to put anything out into print. 4 months. They printed 3,000 copies using Eastman's tax return, the last $200 that Laird had in his checking account, and money borrowed from one of their uncles. I don't remember which one it was. And they printed their first 3,000 copies and started Uncle Donnie, and founded Mirage Studios. So we've seen that logo. If you look at, and if you've ever paid attention to anything Turtles, you've seen Mirage pop up before, and you recognize that name, at least in the comic world. Well, the reason that they chose that name is because they didn't have an actual studio. It was just their living room.
Which is
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. So that's how they came. And it was originally meant to be just a one shot, one off, one issue, one and done. But the popularity of it, how it was received, they had the foresight, thank God, to realize that they were onto something. Because once they finished one, they decided, okay, well, we'll do number two. They put it out there that they're releasing number two. They received an order for 15,000 copies of issue 2 and 30,000 reprints of issue 1.
Which
All
is
within
nuts.
a 1 year period of time. So you go from sitting in a coffee shop, I mean, it probably wasn't a coffee shop then. I don't know what it was. Wherever they were drinking coffee probably. To wow, we've made 48,000 copies of our comic now, issue 1 and issue 2, and it's selling like hotcakes. Maybe they're in a hotcake shop. That would make sense. Buying pancakes.
They were in the hotcake shop.
And so just that humble beginning and that super quick turnaround, and then and something obvious from the get-go, and you've brought this up to me a few times, was the Daredevil connection.
Mm-hmm.
Now they were heavily influenced by Daredevil.
And throughout the years, they have made appearances with other comic characters, including Daredevil is one of them. Because they are New York based. And supposedly were the original, correct me if I'm wrong, they were basically in a Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
So that's your first connection, if I remember right. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys will tell me.
So here's the cool link up, and Mental Floss explains it really, really well. So Daredevil 1, Murdoch sees a truck barreling down on an old man. He knocks the man out of the way. Truck swerves and a canister flies out of the back and hits Murdoch in the face. It's filled with a radioactive substance, which blinds him, but enhances his other senses to superhuman levels, and they use that to fight crime. Okay, Turtle origin, same scenario, except the canister bounces off the boy's head, smashes into a bowl of baby turtles who fall along with the canister in an open manhole, and Splinter finds the turtles, and they become mutated. And so the supposedly, and I think this was confirmed, quote unquote, somewhere to make it canon, like their origin event is the same.
Yeah, it's the ooze blinded him
Mm-hmm.
and then mutated them.
Yeah, this is convenient.
Which you think that it would have mutated him because the ooze mutates everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we can't get it all right. But I mean, there's even other stuff, like Splinter was the father figure in their sensei. Daredevil sensei was Stick. Foot Clan was a knockoff of the Hand in Daredevil. And then the similar origin story. So yeah, it's there.
It's absolutely,
but it's cool.
there.
Like it's not like, oh, they ripped something off. Like I think it's really cool.
I do too, even though it's in two separate universes.
Yeah. But so that first run of comics, like you said, it was hard to read through. Besides your reading level,
Especially my reading level.
They were very violent, very gritty.
I go to the Derek Zoolander School for Kids Who Don't Read Good.
It needs to be so much bigger.
It needs to be bigger.
But yeah, like a lot of curse word or occasional curse words. It wasn't like curse word heavy, but occasionally. And so that's that first iteration, which we see that in the first Turtles movie. It was darker, it was grittier. They cursed in it. Like
Raph got his ass kicked in it
a couple times. Yeah, several times. Like that was such a good, just looking back on it and thinking about it for what it was. Like I remember watching as a kid, like this doesn't feel like the Turtles because the Turtles I watched were different. Right? The cartoon version, all that. And the Turtles that we got, so they were approached by Playmates in 86. 86. So Playmates, they expressed their
1986.
Yeah, they expressed their interest in.
You keep pausing.
I do. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. It's good now.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
All right. Pray to the internet gods. They expressed interest in merchandising with a target market of 4 to 8 year olds. With that original version, you can do that. You couldn't have a bunch of foul-mouthed turtles cutting limbs and stuff off because you see there's like a lot of like super violent, like dismemberment and things like that that went on through it. So you can't.
The original Playmates Turtles, you pressed Raphael's one of his pieces of his shell, and he goes, "Fuck you!"
Harder.
That's when you press the other side.
Yeah, harder.
That's when you yank his tail.
Harder, Splinter. Hey, so I was hoping you were going to take a drink.
Splinter.
And so the Playmates original push was to sell toys. That was pretty much any cartoon you saw in the 80s and the 90s.
It was to sell toys. Like
it was to sell toys. G.I. Joe.
Like Transformers started out sell toys, sell the toy, the Tonka toy.
Most of that stuff came from the idea of like, hey, we got this cool toy idea.
Mm-hmm.
We need to sell the toys or the video game or whatever. Sell the thing to the kids, make the cartoon, and put it on Saturday morning. Pay the money.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm-hmm. Battletoads for the video game. Like they had their own cartoon. Like Mario had his own cartoon for a while. That was kind of a little reverse, but yeah, all that stuff. My Little Pony, Chof.
My Little Brony Chof.
All that stuff. So that's where this came from. Like, we got to make a cartoon. And so that's the one that I would say that a majority of us in our age group were introduced to was the cartoon version. And so they shifted, they needed it to be, and the cartoon was a part of their marketing plan. And so they had to make it less greedy. They changed them to, that's where the whole pizza loving, wisecracks, all that stuff came in.
Their catchphrases.
Like,
what's one of the main catchphrases? Like Mikey does.
Yeah, cowabunga.
Cowabunga.
Radical. Radical. Like,
radical.
And so the first movie actually kind of meshed a little bit of it because I still remember that scene when Splinter found them and they were like baby mutated turtles and they're learning to talk and they're like, radical.
Yep. Well, and that's like if you remember too, I want to say that. No, that was after it, but it was very similar. They did the puppets, basically the animatronic heads in the movie, the first movie, which is very similar to the Garbage Pail Kids movie, which is just creepy.
God, you want to talk about marketing to market for market's sake? Garbage Pail Kids,
yeah.
Oh my God, suck it, Cabbage Patch.
Wendy Winston.
There were so many. Like, we could probably do a whole episode just on banned Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, yeah. That would actually be really fun to do.
Or just Garbage Pail Kids in general, because, like, some of them were kind of a little out there. You had, like, Frying Brian, the one that was in the electric chair.
Yeah.
Leaky Lindsay, which is just, we're not even going to go there.
No. Well, and then, like, hey, I found a website. This is not Garbage Pail Kids. The movie.
Really?
No.
Oh.
That's the name of all those porn titles.
Oh, whoops.
This is not the Avengers. I was hoping you'd pick up on that, but you didn't.
I don't download stuff like that. I need Chof to tell me about those things.
Well, yeah, Chof is the expert. That's where I found out.
Yeah, Turtle Power was the other big one. I'm reverting back. We're on borrowed time and borrowed internet, it seems like. But the big thing, I'm gonna say this is the big thing that this brought about, because you brought it up earlier. The comics were in what?
Black and white.
Black and white, right? So
because you know why?
It's cheaper.
Yeah. Color costs.
And I think the black and white looks cool. Really cool though. Like the shading and when it's done right, but that doesn't translate over well when you're trying to sell things that people want to collect. If they all look the same, then why do we need to buy 4 different ones? They all look just alike. So Playmates, when that merchandising deal in the cartoon came along, that's where we got the colored masks and the colored elbow pads and the colored knee pads, so we could differentiate between the turtles easier.
So they could put the exact same mold on, just different colorings, with a different weapon.
Well, they were a little different because Raph always had that shell scar.
He
For the
did,
mo-
but he didn't. He didn't in the original Turtles toys though. They
Are you
were
sure?
all, yeah. I'm almost positive they were almost all the exact same one.
Speaking of the toys, here's what's crazy. So from 88 to
I had a
97, that's the
bunch of
run
those.
of the Playmates merchandising. So 1988 to 1997. So you're looking at 9 years of merchandising. They made over 400 different figures, dozens of vehicles, play sets. Like I remember there,
400 different figures.
yeah.
I'm filling in when you pause.
Oh, I hear me. I don't hear you. So it's doing this thing now. Cool. In today, I don't know if this is in today's dollars or if it was in those days dollars. I'm guessing it was in those days dollars. $1.1 billion worth of revenue in toys sold. The
Which is just nuts.
number 3 selling toy of all time behind GI Joe and Star Wars.
Isn't that nuts? You'd think Transformers would be up there.
You're just salty about that.
I do love my Transformers.
Mm-hmm. And so that was the turning point. Like that's when we got what we know. And what's cool about it, like Laird and Eastman both had final say with all this. But I like what Laird said in 2012. I'm going to quote him directly here. This was them talking about like they had the final say in the choices and they agreed to a lot of them. They just weren't always happy with them. So they were making business choices at that point. They're like, yeah, this is probably not what we envisioned, but this is going to make some good money. We're going to go with it. And this is going to keep the exposure and things going. So in 2012, Laird said, had I, and again, speaking solely for myself and not for Kevin, this is Laird speaking, in making the key creative decisions for that first animated series, the one that we grew up watching, it would have been very different. Among other things, there would likely have been no moronic henchmen like Bebop and Rocksteady. The Shredder would have been seriously malevolent. April would not have been a reporter and constantly need rescued by the Turtles. The Turtles would not have been so ridiculously obsessed with pizza, and the Shredder would not have had one of his businesses called a restaurant called Ninja Pizza, and the show would not have had a joke or gag every 5 seconds. So he's a little salty about how it turned out, it sounds like.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah, he can, well, I'm sure that he can dry those tears with a giant bags of money. But you know, it was that's the thing that we got introduced to, like whether if that was their original vision or not, that's so ingrained into our nerdy history that, you know, I loved it.
So, you brought up Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah. Technically, Laird brought up Bebop and Rocksteady. I was
technically Laird brought up Bebop and Rocksteady. Actually. So, if you remember, there was that when we were growing up, there was that old rumor that they got their names. Bebop and Rocksteady were two of the code names of Charles Manson's followers.
I don't remember hearing that.
I do. Like that was the big, that's how they got their names.
Well, you grew up in the big city.
Yeah, I grew up in the big city, but how they actually got their names is bebop is a style of jazz,
and
rocksteady is a Jamaican music style. It's the early form of reggae.
Okay.
So Charles Manson followers debunked. Defunct George Clinton.
I'm getting a lot of Charlie background noise. I don't know what he's barking at, but I'll give him some credits in the show later.
It's probably a naked turtle in your house.
Guest starring Charlie.
Yes, starring Charlie. But yeah, no, the Turtles were very instrumental in us growing up, and we talked about the 86 cartoon. It was it 86? I think it was, wasn't it?
I think that's when they started. Let me look here.
I'm almost positive it was because 86 was a big
87. Debuted in 87. Yeah.
Because
started as a 5-part. Yeah, it was a 5-part miniseries, and then it carried on after that. So it ran from 87 to 96.
Which is not 10 seasons.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Flash fact. Nickelodeon just acquired the rights for the original cartoon series. They're bringing it back. The original.
That's cool too. I don't know how they didn't get because they got the rights to the Turtles like in 2009.
Yep.
But they didn't have the original series until recently.
Which is great.
Yeah, I'm glad that's still gonna be coming back around. Whatever, even though that the creators weren't so happy with it. And what was cool though, like there was some cool voice acting in that too. You had
There was great voice acting
Yeah.
in that.
Raphael was voiced by Rob Paulson, who ended up being who was later on was Pinky and Yakko from Animaniacs.
Mm-hmm. You can hear his voice very clear as day.
Yep. You had Townsend Coleman, who that was Mikey, later did the Tick, one of your favorites.
Yep.
Cam Clark did Leonardo.
Spoon.
Yeah, who did from the notes there? I figured you would like this. Who Cam Clark did the extra or what he was famous for before that.
Kaneda.
Mm-hmm.
From Akira.
Yeah. God, I love
You
that's
can-
one
You
one of
can
my favorite
very
movies.
clearly hear him. Like after you watch Akira, you can hear that. That's all you can hear.
Mm-hmm. Then you had Donatello was Barry Gordon.
Barry Gordon
Did voice or was from Leave It to Beaver, Armstrong Bunker, SWAT Cats, Pole Position. And my favorite
love Pole Position.
I remember you talking about that at one time. We were trying to remember the name of some cartoon or some show, and you were like, and we were trying to sort through, and it ended up being Pole
Position.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I loved that show.
And this one, I knew this whenever I was younger, and I guess I completely forgot till I started looking back through again. Shredder was voiced by James Avery.
James Avery. All right, Turtles. Uncle Phil.
Mm-hmm.
From Fresh Prince.
Yep. There was so much from that original series that, to me, I mean, that's my favorite out of all of them. There were several.
Yep.
What we had? There was a live action series that came out like right as soon as the animated one ended.
And it was right after the movies.
It was right after the movies.
I think it was after 2.
It was after 3.
It was after 3. I thought it was after 2.
3 came out,
and then it was after 3.
Let me look here.
It was so the show was on Fox. It was on that Fox animation block in the Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And it was called The Next Mutation.
Yeah, because 3 didn't come out until 93. So this came out. 3 was out when the original trilogy was when the original cartoon was
and I think
still running.
Next Mutation was 97.
97. The year after.
Off on both of those.
You were close.
But that's where they came out with. That's where they introduced. I remember that it was a shit ton of backlash for this too. That's where they introduced the female turtle, Venus. They called her Venus de Milo. And she just went by Venus. And then she went through a lot of changes throughout the years.
Well, that original one, didn't she even have like shell boobs?
Yep, she had shell boobs.
Yeah.
She definitely had shell boobs.
You're leaning in on your screen. Are you looking really closely right now?
I'm looking. Those are shell boobs. Well, I'm looking, because I don't have it full screen either.
Okay.
And I'm looking for the,
well, so the live action, the one in 97, that wasn't Ham Saban. That was Power Ranger producer.
Saban.
Saban. Yeah. So it had that same
Saban
kind of,
Entertainment. Yeah.
the same kind of feel.
In Flash Fact, there was a crossover episode with the Next Mutation and the Power Rangers.
Power Rangers in Space.
Was it Power Rangers in Space?
Yep.
Yeah, so Venus was created by Eastman and Saban.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, I didn't look enough. I just kind of wonder if Laird and Eastman had a little falling out somewhere along the lines.
I think if I
think
remember the original story, I think they did.
Yeah.
And like Laird didn't want anything to do with Eastman or the franchise, if I remember right. But yeah, so Venus's real name is May Pei Chi, I believe.
I was leaving that to you.
Originally, her name was Bonnie in the IDW comics. Yeah, figure that one out. So she's a mutant frog, but then like in the comics, like they did something weird with her. Like she was a human born mutant frog. And then or maybe that was, I can't remember where that was, but then like in the IDW comics, they made her a patchwork mutant turtle, quote
Mhm.
unquote.
Yeah,
But
I,
yeah,
rem-
it's
I remember seeing that one advertised, and it looked
Mhm.
so freaky. I didn't want to touch it. Like I didn't even watch it. It looked so weird. Like it was just unsettling. The visuals of them. That even as a kid, then I would have been early teens, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Or maybe that's when like I'm too cool for turtles.
so I mean they've made Venus to appeal to the female crowd.
Yeah.
And one of the funny thing is so none of the turtles are biologically related. They're all different species of turtles. Like Ralph is a snapping turtle.
Okay.
That's why if you look, he's got kind of the spiky shell and like the disposition he has. They intentionally kept them like this because what the writers did, so that they wouldn't eliminate the possibility of a romance between Venus and one of the turtles.
Ah.
They hinted heavily at Raphael, at Raph, and Leo.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Did not know
and then
that.
it got canceled after one season.
Yeah. It was I just remember I really wasn't into it. They had a second animated series on Fox.
Oh wait! Before you do that,
Okay.
we have to mention this. So the 50th episode of Robot Chicken, titled Moesha Poppins,
Mhm.
Venus makes a short cameo on Where Are They Now, revealing that after being kicked off the team, she tried to flush herself down the toilet and drowned.
God dang it.
I love Robot Chicken.
So see, Fox picked up the second animated series 03 to 09, which that's while I was in college, and I know I didn't watch that one, but the third anime, do you remember much of that one?
Of which one was it?
The animated series ran from 03 to 09.
Oh, 3 don't know. Was that the one on Fox or Nickelodeon?
It was on Fox. Nickelodeon was the one that came out in 12.
Which one was it called?
It was just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah. I briefly remember that. Like,
I think he got a lot of time on the CW.
yeah, it was kind of, if I remember right, kind of early rough computer CG.
Yes, that's what it was. Like that one wasn't that great.
Oh, I found out why Laird didn't have anything to do with Venus.
Hmm.
Original Turtles creator Peter Laird has called the idea of the fifth turtle creatively bankrupt. During an interview, Kevin Monroe, director of the TMNT animated film, elaborated on Peter Laird's instructions, saying that there's absolutely no mention of Venus de Milo, the female turtle. You can't even joke about that with Peter. It's just one of those things he hates with a passion.
Wow.
Yeah.
He wanted the original vision. Well, yeah, and he's the one that you find more outspoken things from Laird, Eastman, on how things progressed and kind of like what happened with the turtles and all that. Like you can tell just from the things that were said that he wanted to keep the dark, gritty original version,
Mm-hmm.
and so all the animated stuff, and then I can see that if you had your vision of this really cool, kick-ass, team of ninjas,
Right.
it was dark, that was greedy, that was typical of the early 80s, that type of scene that got turned into what we see now. Yeah, I could probably see why. He still cashes those checks, though. So,
You think?
yeah. Now, the third animated series, the one that was on Nickelodeon 2012, 2017, that one was good.
That one
I
was
remember
very
watching,
good.
I didn't watch it all the way through, but I watched it a lot with my kids. That one was really good. And if I remember right, I think it was in the third one, they traded places with some voice actors. And I'm thinking that was it original Raph became Donatello? Like there were some voice switches that really threw me off.
if that's what I'm thinking you're talking about, that threw everyone off. There was a lot of backlash over that.
Yeah, and that I think Donnie and Raph switched, if I remember right, and it may be different voice actors. I could go look, but we're running time here. But Donnie definitely, I think it was Donnie that sounded like Raph, and Raph sounded like Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was that series. And that threw me off. And I guess subconsciously, maybe started liking Donnie a little bit more. I don't know. Because, everybody
Well,
like Raph.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Donnie real quick. He's undergone, I think, out of all the turtles, I think he and Raph have undergone the biggest two changes out of all the iterations. Like in the original 87 cartoon,
Mhm.
they're all kind of the same, right? Similar build, similar height, just about everything.
Yeah.
Just different colored bandanas and their arm ribbons and like their weapons. Donnie through the years has gotten more slender and skinny.
Yeah.
And he's always been the inventor, but he's gotten like these big thick glasses like every iteration in the past couple years.
Well, he's turning into Tech from Bad Batch.
He really is.
Yeah.
He really is. While Raph has gotten bigger, like more muscular, more badass.
Yeah.
I think those two have undergone the most drastic changes. Now, if you want to
that
argue
was a switch.
that,
Real quick, I found it before I lose it.
Go. Yeah.
So Rob Paulson voiced in the original series, he was 87 Raphael, but in the Nickelodeon, he was Donatello. So let me see if I'm pretty
Really?
sure. Yeah. And so Barry Gordon was Donatello in the 87 series. And he also did Bebop and a few other ones. I don't know who did. So maybe that was just a switch. Maybe Raph became Donatello. That's what it was. It wasn't like they swapped. You just had the original voice of Raph being the voice of Donatello in that first Nickelodeon series.
Which that would have screwed me up because growing up on that one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a cool. I remember that did mess with me for a while, but then I started liking Donatello a lot more. And they seem to kind of come more into their individual personalities in that series.
Right.
And then we had the fourth series, which ran for just 2 years, also on Nickelodeon, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that one was more. That one returned to 2D animation. The one before was a little bit more CGI. I didn't watch much of that one though.
I didn't. I don't think I watched any of that one.
But let's talk movies while we can.
So on the movies, you have the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with Corey Feldman as.
Which one was he? He was crap.
You know this.
Corey was Mikey, wasn't he? No.
Nope.
Man, I knew this, and then you had to come put me on the spot. So we had. I'm cheating and looking up because I just totally
He's
went
Donnie.
He's Donnie.
He was Donnie.
We had Judith Hogue as April, Elias Cotes as Casey Jones.
Okay, let's talk about Casey.
Okay.
Who's Casey supposed to be?
Casey Jones?
Yeah.
What do you mean, who's he supposed to be?
Who is he kind of a knockoff of?
Oh, he was. I mean, you had the hockey mask.
It's like two people. Yeah.
Kind of Jason, or kind of Jason-y in a way, because he was menacing. But are you talking about in the movie or from the comics and then in the cartoons?
Either.
Man, I see the little bit of Jason-ness in him.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your other one?
Punisher.
Oh, okay. I see that.
Because he punishes crime. He's got the skull stuff,
Yep.
Yeah.
So that first movie, I mean, I was gonna say that one was so good.
It was
That's
great.
the one. I had the VHS as a kid, and I wore that one out.
Yep.
God, it was really really good. The even with the rubber masks and how they did all that stuff wasn't overly cheesy.
It
So
was
many
great.
quotable lines.
When we saw it, it was great.
Yeah, it's still good. I might watch
Yeah.
it tonight. You know,
Uh,
I'm still kind of a stickler to that original trilogy.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Then next you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze,
Yeah.
which introduced
Vanilla Ice.
yeah, with the ninja rap. Go ninja, go ninja, go
Dude.
ninja, go.
If you weren't in your cafeteria in school when that came out, and you and your group of friends not sing, because that's the one that brought on the tour, wasn't it? When they had like the live action tour and the collaboration with Pizza Hut.
It was. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the tour.
Yeah, there was the tour, the collaboration. I had the cassette tape because they had their own, like they dropped their own album that was basically the soundtrack to the movie with a bunch of like Vanilla Ice stuff and
Right.
whatever. Those turtles were a little weirder.
Yep.
They had a lot more like eyebrow movement. Donatello was probably the funniest one in that. Like Donnie and Mikey chemistry there, like in that movie, was really good. Because you always have Raph and Leo, Donnie and Mikey. It seems like that's your two pairs.
Right.
You know, because Raph and Leo are always butting heads, and Donnie and Mikey are just kind of in the background cracking jokes. And
Right.
like I feel like in the second movie, that's where it really kicked off. Splinter was really weird looking in that.
He was.
But I'm not going to say if that one was hated.
Do you know who did Splinter's voice in that one, in the puppet?
In the second one?
Uh-huh.
It was, I'm looking here now.
Well, the puppet at least.
Kevin Clash was the puppeteer.
You know who Kevin Clash is?
So Kevin Clash.
Elmo.
That's Elmo? Original Elmo?
The original Elmo, the disgraced Elmo. The one who all those teenage boys came forward and said that he raped them.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was Kevin. He was Splinter's voice.
Okay, since we're in that, I didn't know this. Okay, so you remember the end of that when we had Shredder and Shredder got exposed to the ooze and became Super Shredder?
Yep.
You know who played Super Shredder? Kevin Nash.
Really? I could see that.
Kevin Nash was Super Shredder. We're learning so much today.
Well, and then in the original movie, Brian Tochi was Leonardo's voice. Do you know who he is?
I do not.
He played in Revenge of the Nerds. He was the Asian dude in Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
Takashi.
Yeah.
And then he was also Nogata in Police Academy 3.
I remember a lot from 2 that we had Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yep. Ernie Reyes Jr.
Oh my God, he's so old now.
Yeah. I remember him on Sidekicks.
Well, he was in Red Sonja also, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I remember being completely disappointed in that one because it wasn't Bebop and Rocksteady. It was two separate beasts. One was a snapping turtle, one was a wolf.
It was like a knockoff Bebop and Rock. Because I remember that was always the talk. Like, that's who they are. They're like, no, that's not Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, yeah, it is. And then we were like, Miss Cohen.
Who was it? Toka and Razor?
Razor and well, they call it, like, it was pronounced weird. You had
RAHCAR, Razor, and it was Toka, wasn't it?
I think it was Toka. I'm looking here.
So
yeah, Toka.
We also had a cast change.
Ooh. We had different.
Well, besides the turtles, the main one was April was different in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Paige Turco. She was in April in 2 and 3.
Yeah.
They changed her up.
Want to talk about 3 real quick while we got it up? Turtles in Time.
Yep.
So
that was not my favorite.
I think that was one of the least well received. Cool concept.
Great concept. Just
oddly executed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Which is
they went
kinda
back in
weird.
time. They had the staffs that spun
Same
like
Casey Jones though.
same Casey Jones. Was it?
Yeah, Elias Coteas.
Oh yeah, 'cause he was he in 2? We didn't have Casey Jones in 2, I don't think.
He was in 2,
Just briefly though, wasn't he?
if I remember right. He was in the first one.
He was definitely. I know he was in the first one. I don't think he was in 2.
I'm looking.
I'm looking as well. I'm pulling him up right now because he's done some other stuff.
He was in
Was he in Full
Simone.
Metal Jacket? He's in Thin Red
Some
Line.
Kind of Wonderful, Tucker.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
There's Turtles. No, he wasn't in 2. It was just one. He was in Look Who's Talking 2. He skipped Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 to be in Look Who's Talking 2.
Probably a good move.
Mr. Toilet Man. He eat your pee pee and poo poo.
So 3, you had a lot of similar type characters, and this gave some. Did it give some extra backstory or like kind of threw some?
They threw some extra stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was not my favorite.
And so
But that was the main. That was the original trilogy.
the original trilogy, and
then one of my favorite ones was TMNT, the movie,
the CGI one,
the CGI one from 2007, where Mako was Splinter. If you remember Mako was in a lot of movies. I think I best know him, and what most of you will best know him as is he was Uncle in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh,
and he died in the middle of the series. And he had to be replaced. But he has a very, very distinct voice. And Patrick Stewart was winner. Sarah Michelle Gellar was April O'Neil. Chris Evans was Casey. Kevin Smith was in it.
you know, I think I watched that one once.
I love that one. Lawrence Fishburne, Zia Yang, who was got her start in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. John DiMaggio.
Yep.
Nolan North was Raphael in that. Who Nolan North is coming to Tulsa in 2 weeks.
I may have to go back. I think I only watched that one once because I think when these started coming out, I was being the crotchety old nerd, like, oh, they can't remake the movies because the movies were great. But I don't think I saw Out of the Shadows, but I did see the reboot, the one in 2014, the Michael Bay one.
Yep.
Because was it that one or was it Out of the Shadows that had the beatbox scene in the elevator?
I don't remember.
That beatbox scene was awesome. But
I'm looking at that TMNT though. D. Bradley Baker was also in it. Who we know from what?
That's from Bad Batch and Clone
Wars, all that stuff. And James Arnold Taylor was Leonardo in that one. That's Obi-Wan's voice in the animated series.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this one now.
I really like
It's been so long.
Good.
I stopped at the first Michael Bay reboot. I didn't watch Out of the Shadows, which that one's only, I guess it's 7 years old now. But
I liked them. I liked the reboots.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. It's just they were so visually different because the turtles were huge.
Yeah,
you know, Mikey was. Yeah, and it got the full Michael Bay treatment. So I imagine if I go back and rewatch it now, that might be a thing. Let's we're on the movies. What was your favorite movie? And we can't say the first one because the first one's going to probably be both of our favorite ones. So we're going to go outside of that.
Stephen Amell was Casey Jones, Green Arrow.
You're going to go back and rewatch that, aren't you?
Out of the Shadows? Yeah, because you know who Rocksteady was, right?
Seamus. I didn't watch Out of the Shadows.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
no.
You need to watch it then.
I remember I was still standing my ground. Like, this isn't as good as the old stuff.
Yeah. Okay,
so that
guy. Are we talking the live action or are we talking just all of them?
We'll go theater release movies.
Theater release movies? So technically TMNT was released in the theaters. I remember seeing it in the theaters.
Yeah.
So I'll go with,
because
I'm in between that one and Secret of the Ooze.
I think we would both say the original.
No, we would definitely say the original.
Yeah.
But if we had to pick number 2, I'm in between TMNT, the CGI,
Mhm.
and Secret of the Ooze.
See, I feel Secret of the Ooze. If I'm going to say my favorite, I feel Secret of the Ooze was more in line with the Playmates cartoon, the '87 cartoon.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit more in line. But I'm going to say outside of the original, and I don't really even have a good reason to say this one was my favorite, other than I watched it probably more than any of them was the third one because I had a copy of it when I was growing up. I had one that got wore out because I think my cousin taped over part of it somehow or did something, and then I had three, and so I would just watch three over and over again.
And over again. I could see that.
So I think in my childhood memory, the best one for me was three.
Three.
And what do you think was the worst one? You already said it.
Three.
Yeah, I also
Three.
think three was the worst one
Three.
because it was the best and the worst for me. Just because
it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
But it was so far out there. Like it was, like we said, it was a cool concept. It just the turtles were the animatronics were weird.
Yeah.
It was either two or three where there's a lot of weird teeth going on.
I think that was two, wasn't it? When they started getting all the big teeth.
Yeah, but I think three, the teeth were a lot weirder.
Yeah, they were. Well, especially when they were in the samurai gear.
Yeah. Oh, the samurai gear was cool.
It was cool, but it made their faces look weird.
But it was that whole classic thing. Like, nobody's going to recognize us if we put this mask on. Like, you're giant freaking turtles.
You're green. And yeah. They're green. We're really hip.
Oh, my God. Marketing works.
Yes, it does.
Almost 40 years later, and we're still...
I'll tell you another one that I really love.
Okay.
Came out in 2019. It was direct to video. Part of the DC universe, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which you can watch on Max right now too.
Anime. I may have to watch that.
Oh, it's quite brutal. Batman going up against Shredder is everything.
Really? Is it a full length or is it one of those?
It's a full length. No, it's a full length.
Hour 15. Because I know some of the DC stuff, the straight to video stuff, is not like full length. It's not an hour and a half or longer. It's like 45 minutes to an hour 15 sometimes.
Oh, it's full length. And Shredder,
like full length male measurement or full length female measurement? Like no
female measurement.
Okay,
female.
all right. So,
but Shredder in that movie, he oozes Batman's gallery of rogues. Well, I guess it's Flash's rogues gallery, but his rogue gallery. He oozes them.
Oh, God, I'm gonna have to watch that now.
So Baron Vaughn is Donatello in that. Do you know where we know Baron Vaughn from?
No, tell us.
He's either Crow or Tom Servo in the reboot of MST3K.
Oh, okay, nice.
Darren Criss is Raphael. Troy Baker's Batman. We know him. Eric Balza is Leonardo. We've heard him in a lot of stuff. Kyle Mooney from Saturday Night Live. Michelangelo.
Yeah, I may have to watch that one.
Mr. Freeze is Bender. Alfred is Babu.
Yeah, I guess I need to watch that one.
Yep. Brian, Tom Kenny's the Penguin. You know who Tom Kenny is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's SpongeBob.
Yep. Tara Strong is Harley Quinn. So, I mean, it's just good. It's just very, very good. He's Servo.
Okay.
Baron Vaughn.
Let's get into the never-ending battle here of who's your favorite turtle? Who you got? If you had to do your Mount Rushmore of Ninja Turtle, no. If you
my wait, but we can't. There's only 4. Oh shit, we'd make Laird mad at us.
Yeah.
Mikey's my favorite because I'm a big fan of nunchucks.
I figured you'd be a Donnie guy.
I like Mikey the best. Like just because he's the party guy, he's fun. Like I said, I don't know. I've always had a thing for nunchucks. Like I just think nunchucks are awesome. Like ever since I saw Bruce Lee on was it Enter the Dragon with the nunchucks?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's kind of when I was little kids, kind of end all for me. So mine would go Mikey, and then I'd say Donnie, and because he invents stuff, and
Yeah.
he's got the bow staff, and in the original stupid video game, he had the longest reach on the
Yeah.
Nintendo, and if I remember, he had the longest reach, but then maybe Raph had the most health. You needed that when you're trying to get the pizza in the sewers when you're
Yeah,
swimming.
screw
Yep.
that level.
Yep.
First off.
Screw that level. I was waiting to work that one in, and then I would say Leo, then Raph.
So Raph was always my favorite. And it flip flops between Mikey and Donnie for second place, depending on which version of things that we're watching.
Yep.
Leo was always at the bottom for me. And we're talking about weapons, and Props brought up a really cool thing in chat the other night when we were streaming about different theories that he's came across and some of his own, putting together why they had the weapons that they had.
Mhm.
And so, Raph had a bad attitude, anger management issues, definitely, right? He was always pissed off and looking for a fight. So that's why he was getting his size are basically defensive weapons. You can't really do it. You can attack with them, but they're made for defense.
Right.
And so Splinter gave him those so he could, he wasn't just going to attack. Donnie was more apt to tech, right? He's the smart one, tinkering gadgets. So you get a wooden stick.
And you get a wooden stick.
Mikey was basically the walking turtle version of ADHD. And so they gave him the nunchucks that required focus and precision and practice and practice and practice and practice, because that's like you would need the most of that. And then Leo, who is actually pretty passive, is the only one that has like a bladed offensive weapon.
Yeah.
Those were props there. I liked them. I like those theories a lot.
That's actually pretty valid.
They line up really well. See, I know you. Go ahead.
Let's talk about this real quick. Why did we talk about Turtles this week?
Well, we talked about because one, Nickelodeon acquiring the rights, and we're going to get the 87 back, and then the new movie comes out next month, August 2nd. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
So
Mutant Mayhem.
Week. The next Wednesday?
Uh-huh.
It's Thursday.
It's a weird animation style. It's kind of like CGI claymation-y.
It's like the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse style.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that's what I was looking for that.
Like, yeah, it's almost like stop motion-y, like you were saying.
And so it looks pretty cool. Micros animation. What else have they done? That's who done this.
It's growing on me. I'm still way iffy on it. I know it's B-Rob and I discussed this at work the other day at lunch, but it's growing on him, but he's still not sold on it.
I'll give it a fair shot. Now, the animation studio that's doing this, so this will start to make a little more sense. Some things that you may know that they've done. They did Captain Underpants, the first epic movie.
Yep. I like that movie.
They did Sergeant Stubby. I remember seeing that. The SpongeBob movie from 2020, Sponge on the Run, that was that same kind of style, if I remember right. It wasn't like 2D cartoon. They did some Paw Patrol stuff. Let's see if there's anything else in here. The Little Prince, that was also that kind of sort of look.
Little Prince was also a was that Nickelodeon? I think it was a Nickelodeon show on in the afternoon. It was on just before David the Gnome.
Oh, so yeah, here you go. So you have Jeff Rose, the director. Where do you say
Jeff Rowe or Jeff Rose?
Jeff Rowe. Jeff Rowe.
Jeff Rowe.
He was inspired by sketches he made in school notebooks as a teenager and how they like to have exaggerated features. In one of the films, animation to reflect a similar feeling. Rowe described the film's sketch look as its North Star, as the comic book inspired look was for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There you go.
There we go.
And he found that was actually very difficult working in an unfinished, like it's not refined, or it's intentionally unrefined. So they had to refine the unrefinedness to make it look like it is, and that made it even harder.
So you're saying that they refined the unrefined to make refined?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
All right.
So I don't know. So again, we discussed this, I think, last week. One of the biggest changes is, well, we do have a skinny Dawn in this one.
Yeah.
We have traditionally April's been a voluptuous, busty redhead, white redhead
Yep.
with big boobs. You know, she's always like, it was low cut. Now she's short and African American. And this is going to cause a stink in the fanboy community, which it already has. Personally,
yeah.
who cares?
I don't care. As long as they make good characters, I don't care.
If they flesh out the characters, that's all Kyle and I care about.
Yeah. So speaking of characters, I think this is a cool way to kind of wrap some stuff up. Your favorite villain, your favorite Turtles villain from the whole franchise, from the comics,
Ooh.
from the animated, from the movies. So like we got multiple Shredders, so you can go with your favorite Shredder if you wanted to.
I would say we need to pick someone other than Shredder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're Shredder specific, right? Because you have,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, original movie Shredder was pretty cool. Super Shredder was really cool.
Super Shredder was very cool. Gosh. See, I'm a big fan of Baxter Stockman too.
You know where that name came from?
Uh-uh.
So that's the name. That's a knockoff of the stock paper that they print. That was used to. It was the cheap, heavier type paper
Mhm.
that they printed the comics on. Here, let me find it here really quick. I remember reading this and I didn't write it down. Where did it say here? Yeah, because he kind of became the Fly type thing in the '87 series, but
Yep, because he got mutated.
yeah, I found it and I lost it. But yeah, that's based off of the name of the comic paper,
Really?
Backstock or Baxter Stock.
I didn't know that. I kind of like the Gator too.
Oh, what was the Gator?
I'm trying to find the name of this one because he was very, very specific, and he was more in the comics, but he was
Leatherhead?
bad. Yeah, Leatherhead. I like Leatherhead. Remember, he was from the Bayou.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he had the eye patch.
Yep.
It's some versions, yeah, the eye patch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
I'm trying to find it.
Probably my favorite is Krang from the original cartoon, 87 Krang, because he was just so wonky. The brain.
I'll go with Krang too, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm on this website ranking the best villains.
Yeah.
For the Turtles. Yeah, it was Tokka and Razor.
Yeah.
Number 2 was Krang. Number 1 is Shredder, right? According to this website. Number 3, Bebop and Rocksteady. Number 4, the producers of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
That's what you get.
They gave them the worst. She was like a female fox. I cannot remember her name. Alopex.
What was it?
Alopex.
Alopex.
Yeah, Alopex.
Oh, she was cool looking.
She appeared. Yeah.
She was in the IDW run.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So she is.
Her brother was Tiger Claw.
Shredder's. Hold on. Granddaughter, Oroku Karai.
Oh, okay.
Shredder was Oroku Saki, right?
Yeah.
Oroku Saki.
So she's that. And then, I forgot about them. So they ranked the Stone Generals. That was the ones from that TMNT movie.
Yeah.
And then they also ranked General Trag. Remember the Rock Warriors?
The TRAAG. Yeah.
And then
Trag was in the '87 series too, I think. I remember the Rock. Yeah,
he was. Where was the other one? I remember Slash. There's Leatherhead. Rat King. Remember Rat King? They
When I
basically
see him, I will. Oh,
they
yes,
put-
yes.
Yeah, they put little rags around him for his mask.
'Cause I remember when I saw him that he made, for some reason, my favorite G.I. Joe back in the day was Tunnel Rat.
Yep.
And he kind of I don't know why. Maybe just because that was his name. And he kind
I
of
can
had
see that.
yeah. I always thought Tunnel Rat was really cool. for
Tunnel
G.I.
Rat
Joe.
was really cool.
Mhm.
So, but yeah,
Tell us your favorite turtle and villain
and all of the above.
and all the above. Your
And
favorite movie.
I'm really interested to hear if you guys are excited about the new movie, not excited. So let us know. I also want to take this opportunity to talk about one of our loyal listeners in our community who's going through some times right now, Mr. Jethro. He talked about this in my stream the other day. His mama isn't doing too good right now. So we just want you to let you know, Jethro, we appreciate you, and our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family.
Got you, bud.
So thank you for listening, and we hope that she has a speedy recovery. So yeah.
Wish
Let
the
us
best
know
for
what you
and your
think.
family. Yeah, let us know what you think in the Discord. Join the link or the link in the show notes down there. Join that. There's some episode discussion stuff in there. So get in there and argue with Joe.
And because he will argue with a brick.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen him do it.
This was a fun one.
It was a fun one to do. So yeah, maybe we'll go in more in depth into turtles than another one.
Because we like turtles.
We like turtles. So yeah. So with that, this has been Every Man's Guide to Nerddom. I'm Chris.
I'm Kyle, and wherever you guys are, have a great evening, nighttime, daytime, morning time, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and please be good to each other.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
See ya.
Nerd Corker, rise up. It could get elevated. Nerd Corker, rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore used to be just a made-up word.